Welcome to Carren's Couch. Thank you for joining us here this week. We've got Dr. Jane Greer back on the show, who has a media commentary called Shrink Wrap. Now, I'm super excited to invite Dr. Jane Greer back onto the couch to talk about cheating. So thank you for joining us, Dr. Greer. Fabulous to have you join us again for another insightful and compelling conversation.
Thank you so much for welcoming me back. It's always a pleasure to be able to share with you, to shrink wrap on relationships, and hopefully pass on some words of wisdom that can help all your viewers really make their lives as full and as happy as they would like them to be.
Yay! Yes. Now, Dr. Greer, we've had some questions come in, and I'm going to paint a scenario for you because today's conversation is about cheating. So let's get one question answered first up. From our guests and our viewers, we get different kinds of cheating. So there's the one-night stand, there's the cheating with somebody over a longer period of time, and there's a general consensus that if you do a one-night stand, it's not so bad, you can kind of get over it. But if your partner's been in a relationship with somebody else for a while, well, now we're talking about a different kind of territory. And then there's the other kind of cheating, which is just a kiss, or there's the other kind of cheating again, which is the whole online social media behind the scenes that nobody knows about, that goes on through private messages and, you know, talking and chatting with old friends or rekindling old relationships while you're in a relationship. So what do you constitute as cheating? And is there a difference in terms of which is worse?
Well, obviously, there are degrees in terms of a one-night stand versus a 5-year intimate relationship where somebody has been having sexual encounters and intimacy all along. But the real issue with cheating is a breach of trust. And when somebody has cheated, they have betrayed your trust, broken your trust, have been untrustworthy. And so what you're describing, there is actual cheating where there's physical, sexual intimacy, and then there's emotional cheating, where perhaps two people have not been sexually involved and intimate with one another, but the intensity of their emotional relationship, the things that they're turning to one another for, the things that they are sharing with each other, are so near and dear to them. And most significantly, these are things that they are not sharing with their partner. And so the barometer of cheating is, are you telling your partner about it? Are you talking to your partner about your friendship with this other male or female with whom you're sharing all the details of, say, your work relationship or what's happening with your sister, or not? If you're not, that's the first sign that something is amiss. And the bottom line is, cheating is a shout out that something has gone wrong in your relationship. If somebody else is coming into your relationship, a third person is coming into the relationship, that is because there's too much space between you and your partner, too much space of disagreement, of differences, of conflict, that you're not connecting, and somebody else is stepping into the picture, into your relationship, who's getting it. They're getting your partner, they're understanding your partner's needs, they're relating to your partner's needs. You know, one night stand, very often those are the kinds of things that will happen for people where they get caught up in the moment, they get alcohol involved, they're out of town, they're away on business, they're caught up in an event, and it was never something they intended to do. They don't know how they did it, and they're not going to do it again. And if anything, it sort of repositions them to get back in the saddle and stay front and center, open and honest with their partner. But all these other variations on that cheating theme really indicate something is wrong here. You know, and it's not to excuse the one night stand, but it is to say that it may be less indicative of or symptomatic of something wrong in the relationship as these other forms are.
It's interesting that you say that, because I've experienced infidelity in my relationships in the past, certainly not at the moment, but in the past I've experienced infidelity where the partners that I've been with have said, oh, look, it was a one night stand. It didn't mean anything. In fact, it's made me love you more. But because of society's view on cheating, I didn't quite know how to reconcile it. I didn't know what to do with it. So I landed up leaving the relationships because I thought, well, this is just flat wrong in anybody's language. And if I tell anybody else, they're going to agree with me that it's flat wrong, should never have happened. And to be honest, in those circumstances, I actually didn't know that there was a problem in our relationships. I didn't know that there was something wrong. So it came as a surprise. And I think that was what was more hurtful than anything. But what you're saying is that potentially there was nothing wrong. There was just opportunity that was seized in the moment. And, you know, whether a person gets over it or they don't get over it, that's kind of up to them. What do you think? There's one particular situation that I'm aware of at the moment with one of our viewers. They have been unfaithful in their relationship. And they've sent us in an anonymous note where they've said that they've been unfaithful in their relationship. It's been going on for 3 months. And this is a woman. And she's been unfaithful for 3 months. And she loves her partner, but there definitely is something missing for her. And now that this relationship of 3 months has fallen apart, she now wants to try and make her relationship with her husband work. Should she tell him?
Well, that really depends on if she can live with the consequences or not. That's a very individual question, whether to be honest and open with your partner about infidelity or not. You have to be prepared for the consequence. Infidelity, cheating, will do one of three things. Either it will break up your relationship, or sometimes it enables people to sustain and remain in a relationship that, because they're cheating and getting needs met outside the relationship that are not being dealt with directly in the marriage or in the relationship, but they love so many things about the person, they want the relationship. So by cheating, they sustain the relationship the way it is, with the problems that are not going to get reconciled, but it enables them to stay there because they're not so empty and so miserably unhappy. Or it becomes a wake-up call that, you know what, I like what I have with this other person, but I really want it with my partner, and I'm willing to do what it takes to invest to make it happen. So whether you're the person who's cheating or the person who's been cheated on, it really comes down to, it is the wake-up call for how much do you value the relationship, the person that you're with, and are you willing to do the heavy legwork that's required to build back trust and come back from infidelity? Because it is not easy. It is not a simple apology. It starts with the apology. That's the starting point. Some people, because they are so committed and invested and have a sense of shared history, love the other person so much, want to be able to forgive and go forward, and they will stay in place and do the work to get there. Other people, the notion that they've been betrayed, that their partner was physically intimate with somebody else, is so offensive and so, just so horrific that they can never get past it. And they stay stuck in their anger, and that is where they're at. And in those instances, the sharing and the honesty will unfortunately drive the relationship apart, because they simply cannot forgive. There are many people who will say, if you ever cheat on me, the relationship is over. But I have worked with many, many couples. Sometimes infidelity will end the relationship, but very often, believe it or not, it becomes the first step to actually healing a relationship, and ultimately, in the long run, helping it become stronger and healthier.
It's really interesting. I've got a friend of mine who was in a marriage and in a relationship for a long time. And she kind of knew that things weren't quite right sexually between them. They'd gone from being quite, amorous together to having a little bit of space between them. So she knew something had changed there. And the distance that she was starting to feel between her and her husband was fairly significant. And then eventually she got a call from the girl that the husband was cheating on to say, you know what, your husband's been cheating on me, and I've decided to call you because he won't leave you, and I want him to leave you so that he can be with me. So she got the call, she ended the relationship because, you know, she couldn't come to terms with that. And I think that when she was looking at that, why she made that decision, it went back to her childhood. It went back to, you know, what had happened with her parents earlier and how her parents had gone through infidelity and her mum had stayed and she didn't agree with that. So she thought she wasn't going to repeat the same patterns. But then interestingly enough, she went on to have another relationship with a fellow who also cheated. And, you know, once that relationship fell down, she really had to start to look at what her values were around that, because she'd left her first marriage and had a lot of regret about that after a while, and then gone in to find another relationship that just repeated the same patterns again.
Exactly.
But then, you know, wanted to try and salvage that relationship, but obviously, you know, that didn't quite work out either. I wonder, is it something to do with us? I mean, do we recreate the same scenarios in our life? How do we actually heal that? I don't know the answer to that. I think because there are a lot of us, and I'm certainly an example of that. I've been in a lot of relationships where my partners have been unfaithful. And initially, I made that all about me. Like, what's wrong with me? What did I do wrong? There must be something wrong with me. I'm not the right type of person to ever be in a relationship. And I think as I've gotten older and I've done a lot of work on myself, I've come to the understanding that the infidelity is not about me, because I'm not the one who's actually got to live with it. The person who's done the cheating, they're the one who's got to live with the consequences of that. I'll move on and I'll heal. Do you think there's something innate that happens in relationships that we attract these sorts of things to ourselves?
I think what happens is, as you said, you're talking about your friend, we all come from our past and our families, and each of us in either big portions or little portions have to learn to deal with and manage loss and abandonment, whether it's parents getting divorced, parent dying, parents getting ill, parents arguing, all the things that can take a toll on us, parent cheating, you know, that you might see it, losing business, all of these things factor into what we are looking for. And the thing that happens very often, children say, I will never do what my mother or father did. I want something different. And without realizing it, in an effort to draw the line and have something different and be something different than one's parent, you actually can lock yourself into, without even realizing it, replicating it, because you've drawn too hard a line in the sand. And what you want to be able to do is appreciate that that's not what I want. I don't want to have cheating in my life in the present. And if that's the case, then you want to loosen up on the judgmental stance as much as you can to say, I don't believe in it. I don't want it. I hope it's not something that I'm going to have, but I'll deal with it so that if it ever happens, I can get to a different place and have something different. You know, infidelity evokes so much judgment on so many people's part. That's wrong. You should leave him. That was terrible. How could you stay with him? Nobody really can appreciate the magnitude of love and connection and companionship and compatibility that goes on between two people over the course of time, and what keeps people together and what drives them apart. And so what I say to people, if you, for example, with your own experience, Carren, if you've had somebody who's cheated on you in the past, it's not just the getting over it and the healing. It's looking at, what's the takeaway? What can I learn from this? Can I do something different? Or was there something I missed in this person? Did I think they were so wonderful that I didn't appreciate, maybe they were a little bit more narcissistic than I realized and more about getting their own needs met than I realized? And I got, kind of dragged under the bus because of that. Maybe without knowing it, you had gravitated to men who were all about themselves and who didn't have the same capacity or ability to make room for and consider your needs enough to put their own needs aside. And then saying it's not about you. Well, when they're saying that, they're right. It's not about you. It's about them. That's the narcissism, but it's still a problem. So it's a question of, maybe the takeaway is, I'm drawing a certain kind of guy in. Maybe I want to start to consider a different kind of man. And that's what I encourage people to do when they have been disappointed or betrayed, use it to start to learn, how do you change the criteria by which you trust another person?
So how do you stay with somebody who's cheated on you? How does a relationship maintain itself? You mentioned earlier that you've got to regain the trust and you've got to be prepared to do the work. To wrap us up on this topic, what would be the top 3 things that somebody could do or a couple could do to regain that trust, to stay in the relationship, if what that infidelity has created is a greater desire to be with each other?
Absolutely. Well, the first and foremost thing that you have to be prepared to do if you were the one who cheated is not just to apologize, but to be prepared to apologize for as long and as often as it takes till your partner can start to move past the pain. I once was doing one of the shows here in the States, and a couple had cheated, and the husband said to me, Dr. Greer, how long do I have to keep apologizing? He said, I've been apologizing for 1.5 years. And I said, well, you're going to need to keep apologizing until she really believes it and is past the pain, because that's what it takes. So the first step is letting your partner understand that you understand how much pain you cause them and how badly you feel about it. So the apology can't just be, I'm sorry. It needs to be, I am so sorry that I caused you so much pain and I will never do it again. So that there's the reassurance. That's step one. The next step is the rebuilding trust. When affairs take place, everything is about secrecy and concealment and under wraps. So contrary to how things were when the cheating was going on, everything has to be an open book. You want to see my laptop? Take a look. You want to look at my phone? Take a look. You want to see my text messages? Take a look. There can't be anything that you, during this period of heat, that you're concealing, because if you have something to hide, then it's going to be hidden. If you no longer are hiding anything, then let your partner see that you can be trusted. You're not hiding anything. And subsequently, the last step is to answer as many questions as you can. Whatever they ask you, whatever they need to know, the truth is far less hard to swallow than the fantasy and the movies going in your head of who this person was, what they did. Was he more handsome? Was she prettier? Was she better than me? All of those questions are torturous for the person who's been cheated on. And hearing your partner say, no, she was different. No, he wasn't like you. And giving you the clarity so that you at least can digest it and leave it behind. Those are the elements that go into the healing. So the ongoing acknowledgement of the pain that you've caused, I understand, the apology, the reassurance that it's not going to happen again, the demonstrated behavior of trustworthiness. If you say, I'll be home from the office at 8 o'clock for dinner, that you're home, that you're not out and she doesn't know where you are. If you say you'll be home on Saturday, that you're not off at a gym class where you might have been involved with the trainer, but you're home and he knows where you are. So the visible steps of what you say and what you do sync up. And then the openness in terms of answering the questions. That combination over a period of time can rebuild trust and can help people heal from infidelity.
Well, that is fantastic advice. And I think that being willing to walk that path and create a new relationship, because I think it's fair to say that once that infidelity has found its feet in a relationship, I think a relationship's got to start again and create a whole new way of being together where that trust can be re-established. So, Dr. Greer, thank you for your advice and thank you for your input on this topic. I think it's a fairly heated topic, and I think, you know, a lot of couples, if not in their current relationships, in previous relationships, have experienced this sort of pain. So your advice and your foresight in it is awesome. So thank you very, very much for sharing it with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. Pleasure.
Oh, wonderful. Well, we're going to see you again on the couch, so don't you go anywhere. Don't go too far. We're going to come over to New York and we're going to snavel you up. That's what we're going to do.
Now you're talking. I would absolutely love that.
And I'm watching all of our production team in the background clapping their hands, big wide smiles, nodding their heads saying, take us, take us.
Carren, can you do my radio show from Australia? Can you do a Doctor on Call show with me?
Well, I'm sure that we can. Absolutely. We can definitely organise something. I'll get our producers to talk to you after the show.
Absolutely, because whenever, you know, what we can do is when you're airing each of these different segments or one of the segments, I can have my radio producer get in touch and we can have you talk about your show, because we have a lot of people who, I actually am working with a couple where there was infidelity from Australia. Honest to God. You know,
great.
So yeah,
Awesome.
so it would be wonderful. I have 2 guests on, so it's a half-hour show. It's on Tuesdays.
All right.
I don't know how the time would be. Tuesdays from 2 to 3 New York time. So it would be like 2:30 on a Tuesday.
Sounds fabulous. I'd love to do it. We'll get our producers to talk to your producers and we'll do a show.
Now you're talking. I love it. Thank you so much. This is such great fun.
Thanks, Dr. Greer. Now stay tuned because I'm going to be talking a little bit more about this subject. Just another view. So hang in there. I'll be right back. So welcome back. Now I just wanted to give you a quick snapshot of a view that, you know, it could be a little bit controversial, but perhaps it's worth just entertaining, along the lines of cheating and infidelity. You know, I've made a comment a couple of times where I've said nobody wakes up in the morning hoping and wishing that they could spoil another person's day, or worse, spoil the person that's in their life, spoil their life. Nobody wakes up with the intention of actually doing that. So if inadvertently cheating or infidelity does occur in a relationship, what about the possibility of thinking to yourself, well, perhaps this person didn't do it intentionally. Perhaps there is a problem that we need to look at in our relationship. Perhaps there's something that's gone wrong that I may not be aware of. So maybe we can look at infidelity as a warning sign, or the signs leading up to infidelity. You know, if you've never experienced it, it looks like distance and it feels like distance, where communication starts to falter. We start to feel like we're not quite as connected to the other person. And sometimes even sex can be something that starts to wax and wane in the relationship. These are all signs to start to look at to say, well, maybe there's something wrong, and how can I participate in the healing or the recovery of my relationship if it's important to me? You know, there's one view that I hold, and I don't know if it's age or if it's experience or if it's the fact that, you know, a lot of the relationships that I've been in over the years have ended in infidelity or because of affairs. I often think back to those relationships now and I wonder, was the intention actually to hurt me? Was the intention actually to destroy me? Was the intention actually to have me never trust another man again? You know what? I can't answer yes to any of that. Even though I'm not in those relationships, and chances are I don't even like those people anymore, but I don't think that that was the intention. I don't think the intention of the people that I was with was to destroy me and have me never trust again. So if that's really the truth, it's not really my business why they went off to have affairs. The only thing that actually is my business is what am I left with? What am I left with here, and how can I become the most potent version of myself because of my experiences, because those were my journeys? How can I become bigger, better, faster, stronger? How can I become more because of those experiences, rather than trying to create a life and future relationships in spite of those experiences? So it's just a different question to ask. And obviously initially when affairs do take place in a relationship, there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of charge, and there's a lot of anger and resentment. And of course we've got to go through the motions. But once we get to the other side of all of that, maybe we can start to ask a different question. Instead of thinking, why did this happen to me? And why is that person such a horror in my experience? Perhaps they're purposeful. Perhaps they've served a purpose in the evolution of your life. What is it? How can you become more because of those experiences rather than becoming less? And start to drop the belief that all of this is set up and those people are not good people. Let's start to drop our beliefs about people. Nobody's doing anything intentionally to destroy us. So if that wasn't the intention, let's not have that be the result. start to look at ourselves and see what else is possible. It's just another way to think about it, and I thought I'd throw it in. It's just my view. So hopefully you've enjoyed this week's session of Carren's Couch and you've enjoyed getting to know Dr. Greer. I think she's exceptional. Let us know what you think. Go to our Facebook page at allthews.facebook.carrenscouch.com. Let me start that again. allthews.facebook.com/Carren's Couch. Let us know your thoughts. And when it comes to relationships, what questions have you got that we can put to Dr. Greer in the future? Don't hold back, and nothing is off limits. So go to our Carren's Couch page as well, which is allthews.carrenscouch.com, and you can also leave your comments there. Make sure that you download this podcast from iTunes, give us a 5-star rating, and as usual, tell everybody that you know that you love Carren's Couch. And we're going to see you here next week. Join us. We'll see you then. Bye for now.